Cindy and Lindsay. What was that kids program where they held the mirror up and they said, we have Johnny and Mary and Susie. Boy, I'm aging myself there.
I remember, I can't remember the name of the show, but definitely something my kids don't watch because
No.
it's just, you know, they're on to so many other things.
Yeah, you know what? When my two sons were younger, they watched the same, you know, Roadrunner and all that, and the Flintstones that I watched. They loved it. So not to say they didn't like Teletubbies. I still bug my son about that one. But okay, so it is. How are we doing for time? 2:01. I'm just going to give him maybe another 30 seconds or so. We've got a lot of people here. Welcome everybody. Lindsay, you're
Cindy
in.
called it. It was Romper Room.
That's it. Thank you. Romper Room. Yeah.
Romper Room. There you go.
Yeah. Hello, Alex. I just sent you a text through your website messenger. Cindy, welcome. Jillian, Lindsay, Marie, Marta, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, we spoke earlier today, and Olivia. Awesome. Okay, in the interest of everyone's time, it's almost 2:02, and just let me get my intro notes, because if I don't have notes, I can't read anything. This is being recorded, and I lost it again. This is being recorded, everyone. It's the day before my vacation, so I'm going to apologize right now and let you know that if I mess up, it's for a good reason. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I want to first acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 honors and respects the land, the people, and the treaties. We are extremely thankful, of course, for the original tour guides of these lands and all that they have shared. All those that reside, work, and play on these lands are treaty people, and we must honor the treaties in a mutually beneficial and equitable manner. Ontario is home to one of the largest Indigenous tourism industries in Canada. RTO9 and Indigenous Tourism Ontario are pleased to be working together side by side together to help advance the Indigenous tourism industry in Ontario. And I'm a big part of that, so I'm really excited about where we're going. As an ally to Indigenous people and a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 is committed to improving the socioeconomic conditions of Indigenous people through tourism by creating space for Indigenous people to tell their stories on their terms. So some housekeeping notes first. This webinar is being recorded and attendees are on mute, but we do encourage you to ask questions at any time. You can raise your hand. Questions can go in the chat room, of course. Please introduce yourself if you haven't done so in the chat room, and let us know if there is something specific that you're interested in learning about when you joined this webinar. So let's talk about itineraries and package travel for a moment. It used to be that package travel was primarily offered at all-inclusive sunny getaways. I think most of us have probably been into them in the Caribbean, on a cruise maybe. I still haven't done one of those, but not so much anymore. And that's not just because of COVID, but COVID, of course, helped build the staycation market. And in doing so, has ushered in a new element to the weekend getaway, the let's explore other parts of Ontario or Canada travelers. COVID also gave people pause to think about life, about not working so hard, about exploring more, trying new things, spending time with family and friends more, and building those all important memories. I have to be honest, having a getaway all wrapped up in a nice little package is very appealing to me. When I want a few days away, the thing I look for first is the experience part. So I'm looking for that catchy title that says, oh, that sounds fun. And things like, I don't know, whether it's Fish Like a Girl Weekend. I just came up with that one this morning, Jason. I thought that was kind of fun. Think about it, stay at a nice B&B or a hotel, a gourmet breakfast with some good, strong coffee in the morning, followed by a day on the lake on a nice boat with someone to bait the hook, take the fish off the line, and then a stop at the dockside patio for lunch and mimosas, back to the B&B or a local restaurant for dinner that includes cooking whatever, not me cooking it, of course, I don't do that. Cooking whatever was caught, a little wine tasting, maybe a spa visit the next day. So there's your next package. Jason, I just gave it to you there in a nutshell. Another one that came up in meeting with a group of really dynamic B&B owners a couple of weeks ago was like a midweek music retreat. If you're an armchair musician or a music lover, it could include a jam session or a songwriter's workshop, a boat tour on the lake. and a dinner at a local winery or brewery. So the options really are endless. And the more creative you get, the bigger the appeal. This is how you fill midweeks and shoulder seasons with the goal to have good partners and have someone to pull it all together. And then the most important part, someone like Tico who can sell it for you, someone with, like Jason, who I'll introduce in a moment, who is Tico certified to sell it for you. So Tico is the Travel Industry Council of Ontario. Jason, I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit because I get the overall what they do, but I'm sure you'll do a much better job than me. So this is where companies like Landsby come in at landsby.ca if you haven't been on their website. And Jason Sarracini, give us a wave, Jason, is, I mean, not that it would be you, Jody, because, anyway, he's a fearless leader and champion of all places Canadian. He comes from a family of travelers and has been exploring the world since he was a young lad, when he's not jetting off in search of the next amazing Canadian experience to bring to Landsby. Landsby.ca it currently has 13 experience packages to the Southeastern Ontario region. We want to fill a dozen more pages with that many and more. So also with us, who will be jumping in a little later, Jody, give us a wave, sharing her experience in working with Landsby. Jody Lundringen from Pangea House in Gananoque, who will be talking about her B&B. So she and her partner, Jeff Dennis, are fairly new to the B&B business, apparently just 1 year. Jody, I thought it was a little bit more than that, but welcome to the area. Welcome to the B&B business and all the other fun stuff that you do. So we're looking for ways, they were looking for ways to build their business in a fun and creative way. And I have to tell you, what they do in their B&B already sounds like super fun to me, and Jody and Jeff are fun anyway. So the introduction was made to Jason, and I'm going to let Jody tell us more about her story and her experience working with Landsby a little later after Jason's presentation. So at this point, Jason, I'm going to turn things over to you. Good morning. Thank you for taking the time before the long weekend to everybody who joined us here today. Really appreciate it, but I think you're going to get quite a bit out of Jason's presentation.
Laurie, thank you. I almost want to stop there because I can only be downhill from here. Well, I was going to say the same for those of you courageous enough to join in the afternoon before a long weekend. I hope to provide enough value during this session. R209, Jody, Pangea House have been incredible partners. And before we get into building multi-day experiences and sort of how we've done it for the region over the last year, I'll give you some background on Landsby and who we are. It was January of 2020, and I decided to return to the family business, which my grandfather started in 1967. So I had 20 years in the travel industry, and it was time to work on something that I could control, something that maybe my children might be interested in one day, who knows. And of course, I didn't know that 2 months later, the international borders would be shut down, airplanes would be grounded, and the world would be basically shuttered in place. So at that point, one thing became very clear as we rode the pandemic wave, and that was that domestic travel was a bit of a sleeping giant. And it was an opportunity we think that needed to be explored. And I think we sort of all feel the same way. So how did I come to this, and how did our team come to this? A few years ago, when I was running the Canadian operations for Travelzoo, I'd met the Destination Canada team in Vancouver, and they'd introduced me to the Canadian Signature Experience Program. It was a portfolio of authentic Canadian experiences, which was designed, I think, in 2012 for the international market to showcase, I think, primarily for the Asian and the Japanese market at the time, iconic Canadian experiences. So as someone who's born and raised in Toronto, I've been in the industry, traveled a fair bit. I was like, why have I not heard of 75% of these things that are in our own country? And they seem to live as a PDF, static PDF on the tourism board website. And I was like, why isn't someone doing something with this? So that lodged in the back of my mind. And of course, COVID presented the opportunity to do something with that. So in the spring of 2020, domestic tourism being really the only opportunity, I was like, okay, maybe now's the time. Maybe now's the time to do something with these experiences and bring these owner-operated businesses to the forefront, right? Because people were looking for something more rural and something smaller and more intimate, et cetera, et cetera. So through my family's company, which you can find at ost.travel, we launched a Canadian portfolio of experiences with 50 partners from the CSE program, and which later led to the birth of Landsby, which is just about a year ago, same as Pangea House. And Landsby is named after the Nordic word for village. So, we're really looking into community and village, and how do we really come back from what happened to us over the last couple of years together as a community. So, what was common across these experiences, and the ones that we've curated ourselves since, was really the intimate and the personal nature of the accommodation and the operator. That led us to an introduction and a relationship with Lori and Bonnie and the incredible team from R209. And we worked together with Via Rail, and they invited us to build the first ever Rail in Rome campaign. So it was a very unique partnership between an RTO, a Canadian travel company, and of course, Canada's national rail service. We got really creative on this one, sort of like Lori was saying at the beginning. So we looked at, people, obviously they weren't flying. It's the winter, it's the off season. Do they really want to drive? What's transportation like? So let's look into Via's corridor and see sort of what stops they have along the way, which we did. And we started building out overnight experiences across the region. We launched on November 1st. And I have to say, I think we'd all say the same thing, even through the pandemic and the onset of Omicron and in December and et cetera. We delivered together exceptional value, I think close to or over 100 room nights and so much more. So hopefully there's a Rail in Rome Part 2 coming next year. But it was a really, really exciting initiative. And I think it validated this desire for prepackaged, unique itineraries domestically in Ontario. But I want to talk about my favorite example. And I think that's you. Pangea House. So one of our most successful experiences is in Gananoque, obviously known as the gateway to the Thousand Islands. Prior to this particular initiative, I don't think many people would have considered Gananoque as a winter getaway destination. But I have to say our accommodation partner changed all of that. So owned by Jody and her husband, Jeff, originally from Toronto. The Pangea House is a 5-room heritage inn located on the Gananoque River. Just steps from the St. Lawrence. And we loved the personalized service and hospitality that they offered. And we worked together. We started a conversation. I think, Lori, you made the introduction. How do we create a unique package? And the key here is that Jody and Jeff, they accommodated us by offering a common rate across their rooms. So they have 5 different rooms in the inn. Jody, correct me if I'm sort of representing anything. 5 common rooms across the inn, which are all at the time and may still be priced separately or priced differently for each room. But in terms of giving us one rate for all 5 rooms, which we're not necessarily discounted, we just sort of landed on a price. That allowed us to offer a prepackaged and secure, if you may, or dependable rate to the consumer, which I'll get into a little bit later in terms of price integrity. So that included an amazing 5-course dinner cooked on site by Jeff. And we added a private Canadian signature experiences helicopter tour, which is the Thousand Islands Helicopter Tour Company. And this 2-night package has become a bestseller for us. It was wonderful. I think I was definitely surprised at the success. Hopefully next year will be 5 times more what it was, this past year. And it led to sales for our partners during a time that's typically quiet and brought a much needed local getaway for Canadians. So I think typically in the industry, packaging inns and B&Bs and rental properties, it's not been standard, right? For the most part, the industry works with branded hotels and rate distributors, et cetera, But, Landsby, we tried to frame things a little bit differently by not insisting on significant discounts, and it really instead appreciating and highlighting the innate, Jody's a perfect example, innate hospitality of the owner and of the supplier. engaging the community together in the experience and catering to the incredible partnership opportunities that exist across the industry. So what we tried to focus on are four pillars, if you may. So how do you create an experience and what are we really looking for? So with an overnight experience, you need the accommodation. So that's a fundamental. But from there, what are we trying to bring in? So we look at four pillars, which are cultural. So cultural can be defined as, a gallery, a museum, Fort Henry, something heritage oriented, a culinary experience. So a restaurant, a craft brewery, a cider house, a winery, a pub, a picnic, something outdoors. So from alpacas to kayaks, to hiking, to skiing. Bay of Quinte has great skiing. Who knew that? To wellness. So wellness being the fourth. So yoga, a yoga experience, a spa, meditation, time away from your phone, just quiet. So packaging these sort of pillar tags, if you may, together with an amazing experience, make for very valuable and desirable overnight experiences. So Laura, you mentioned TICO. TICO is a government body. It is what it is. If you deliver overnight experiences, you have to be registered with TICO. Landsby is both as a retailer, so direct to consumer, and as a wholesaler or tour operator, so B2B. So we work with travel advisors around the world. And that's fundamentally what we do. So we've been working with them for many, many years. And that just gives us the opportunity to sell overnight trips and handle consumer funds in the appropriate way. So I think the key sort of last point here is, instead of looking to just fill rooms and put heads in beds, we're really looking for ways to bring an experience together for the benefit of multiple partners in the hospitality space, right? So when we wrap a unique experience together with a stay, and a stay that has character and purpose, really, it makes for the perfect getaway. And that's what we achieved, both with Jody and I think across the region in general. So our customers had a wonderful time. And with this Rail and Roam program, we worked with some amazing partners across the region. It was really unique, collaborative, and it just shows that there's a huge desire to bring these elements together. It's not going to be for everyone. And, many people are successful at what they do, which is wonderful. But, partnering with Landsby and the region, there's true validation that the consumer is looking for these opportunities, which I think have been few and far between in general previously, especially for sort of these less urban regions across the province. So why work with the travel trade? There's these 3 points are from Destination Ontario and some data that they use, but I narrowed down to 3. There's exposure, there's distribution both locally and internationally, and there's trust. So, like I said at the beginning, we've been operating our travel company for more than 50 years, and we have a considerable database of travelers, primarily Canadians and some Americans, that trust us and have trusted us to book trips for them, not necessarily in Canada, but internationally, right? And I think we've all recognized that consumer that travels to the US, to the Caribbean, on a cruise, into Europe, they typically spend above average, they travel for longer. Why can't we take that spend and have them spend it here locally, domestically, and support our industry? That is an initiative that I think everyone's come to understand. I know that Destination Canada specifically has a 3-year mandate around that. So there's a real runway here to build the domestic tourism opportunity that maybe hasn't been looked at in the same light previously. So people come to travel advisors for not just for flights. Point-to-point flights are easy. They probably should be booked online. Hotel only should probably be booked online. Expedia does a wonderful job along with booking, and listen, Airbnb is what it is. But the minute you start to put multiple components together, that's where the expertise of the travel advisor comes into play. And, I used to own an online travel agency. I've already told you where my family comes from, so I know both sides. And there's a place for the OTA, and there's definitely a place for people, and the ability to call someone and rely on that professional to do, a specific job for the consumer. So, and I think the third point here is really, really important, which I'll get into in the next slide. It allows you as a supplier to distribute further than maybe your marketing budget or your sort of regional partnership might allow you to distribute to. So for the most part, if you're, and I think Jody would agree with this, there's no, outside of time and energy, there's no upfront cost, hard cost, right? The cost comes into play for the supplier when something is booked. So, if you're a marketeer, understand it, it really is the ultimate cost per acquisition. You're not just paying for, a view, you're not just paying for a click, but you're paying for someone to actually arrive and stay and spend at your accommodation or for your experience. So in working with us in crafting, that's sort of what we look at. And one of the reasons of, I think, many, why to work with the travel trade as a whole. I've been doing this for a while. This is the best graph that explains the distribution channels in the space. And it's not mine. It's from the tourism industry in Northern Ontario. So I attribute it to them, and it's simple. And I'm going to try and explain it to you really simply. There's basically two parts to this graph. There's the gray part at the top, which is you as a tourism supplier, you're going direct to the consumer. So you find the consumer and 100% of what you charge is yours. The second part to the graph is the trade. So, and the trade can be broken out in many different aspects. So you tourism supplier works with a travel agency who works with a consumer. Typically, so the travel agent has to make something, it's about 10%. So if your cost is 100, you as a supplier will take back 90, and $10 goes to the travel advisor and any service fee that they may charge. That's one part. And typically that's more local. So your travel agency that you're working with might be local in local city, maybe within the province or the region. As you go down in this graph, typically you get further and further away from your location. So if you're working with a tour operator who may work with travel advisors, so as an example, okay, we Landsby are a tour operator, registered as one. We might work with the Virtuoso network of agencies and agents both in Canada and the US and around the world, who then distributes to their partners. So that's just your dollar, your investment, your partnership is going that much further. So because there's another piece to the puzzle, the commission percentage, so let's say 20% here, so instead of 10, it's now 20, because there's more people in place. So instead of taking $90 on your 100, you're now taking $80 on your 100, but it's going further. And maybe as an international traveler, they may come to your location and spend more, because they typically do when they travel further. And then the third, I think as a receptive, the best example is probably like a John View. So a John View in Canada, who's probably the largest receptive tour operator, they work with other tour operators who work with other travel agencies who work with consumers. It's a big web, and that's why I've tried to really simplify it when I found this graph. But like I said, the further down you go, typically the further away you get. And if that is part of your, this is not, I'm going to say it again, it's not for everyone. So if that's part of your strategy as a supplier or as an accommodation partner to distribute as far and wide as possible into the US market, into the international market, this is sort of how it works. And I think, Lori, this may be posted after. I'm happy to share the slide with anyone just to get a better understanding. But this is a really high level overview of the gray. So your visitor and your market ready, you as a tourism supplier, and then everything below the gray being ready for the trade. And a tip, and I can say this because I am one of them, the trade is lazy. So the more prepared that you are, the better it will go. Distribution. So that third point, I think, is sort of one of the largest. So as an example, we work with Destination Canada. Destination Canada launched a package portal last July. So we have probably 20 to 22 experiences within the package portal, and they have an incredible amount of data that they use, and they market across Canada. They have obviously partnerships around the world, whether it be Mexico or Australia and Asia and Europe. So that partnership is fundamental, hand up that they deliver a lot of traffic. So, working with someone like Landsby in the region, you have opportunities to distribute more broadly. As an example, Facebook post from Destination Ontario. We were in the Star, during the Rail and Rome, and the Globe and Mail, and other publications. So distribution is a large opportunity, and obviously as the supplier or as the accommodation partner, there's not necessarily an upfront cost to have us sell packages for you, okay? So outside of working with the trade in terms of packaging, we want more than what we have, but we don't want endless amounts of unique itineraries, because then they're not unique. It doesn't make any sense. So the other opportunity in terms of working with Landsby is this past year, we launched a program with Northern Ontario, which is a unique subscription program. So for $10 a month or $100 a year, you as the accommodation partner or a tourism supplier, or think of those categories that I mentioned. So you're a spa, you have an alpaca experience, you're a restaurant. With all the traffic coming to Landsby, instead of waiting for us maybe to book you, as an alpaca farm, we may book you 5 times in a year. But if we send you direct traffic and leverage the traffic that's coming to the website, someone may come to you directly because they're not going to stay overnight, but they're looking for something to do, right? So very inexpensive, 100% self-serve, unlimited click amounts for this amount of money. And the partners that we have running with us in Northern Ontario so far through this beta test are extremely happy. So that middle card where you can see the button, I know it's small, says click here. That click here goes to the URL that the partner puts into our platform. So very simple. It can be changed as many times as you want. 100%, like I said, controlled by the advertiser. So this is an opportunity that we launched knowing that, how do we support the industry as a whole? How do we create sort of larger regional directory of all these opportunities that exist across the region? And with, like I said, all this traffic coming through these different partnerships, how do we support, and how do we, for a very inexpensive and easy way to get your name out, how can we do that? So I invite you to claim your business. The URL is there, maybe can be shared through the chat or otherwise in the future. But I sort of go back to the beginning and saying, as a whole, with Lori in the region, with Jody and Pangea House, it's been very creative, and I think of an amazing learning experience to learn what the Canadian consumer is willing to do. And I think we need to continue to really work at that and be creative and try ideas. When like I said, we didn't know that this package, Flying Dine at the Pangea, we didn't know it would work. And I think we all agreed that it worked. So I invite you to work together with us. You can email us at rto9@landsby.ca. We're across social channels. My email's there. And I look forward to it. I look forward to continuing the partnership that we've created.
Fabulous. Excellent. Thanks, Jason. I know there's going to be some questions. I do have one that was put into the chat room that I'll address, Jody, before we get to you, if that's okay. So my understanding is that accommodators rather, can offer packages without TICO certification. Experience operators like yoga teachers, sports instructors, etc. cannot. Can you clarify that, please?
Yoga instructor can offer an experience direct to the consumer because it's not an overnight stay.
So once they combine that with an overnight stay, they can't.
So it's really, TICO is all about the funds and what happens to consumer funds. So if you have a yoga instructor who wants to put together multi-night escape, the yoga instructor cannot take the consumer funds. That's the key, because consumer funds for overnight stays have to go into trust. And that trust account has to be governed and audited yearly by TICO. So it's not that they can't do it. The problem is they can't sell it and they can't take the funds for it, which then makes it useless, right? So, a lot of the times where you do see retreats, there's one particular in Algonquin that comes to mind. The funds go through the stay or the accommodation partner. So TICO is really just all about consumer funding and making sure that it does land in a trust account. So that's the component. If I answered the question, I think that was the question.
Right.
It's just about who's handling consumer funds.
Right, right, okay. But the accommodator can, correct? And I think the answer there is yes. So let me give you an example. When I was speaking with this lovely group of B&B operators a couple of weeks ago, they were talking about doing like a midweek wellness escape, if you will, for a couple of nights, and working with a yoga instructor. So all the billing and everything, the trip would be booked through them. But they would offer things like, yoga, maybe wine tasting, maybe, other experiences like that. So if the accommodator is creating that and putting it together, then yes. If it's the experience provider putting it together with an accommodator, the answer is no. But the bigger picture, I think, here is in working with a package tour operator like Landsby, is the exposure you get. Right, Jason?
Yeah, listen, it's exposure, it's access to database, and it's also sort of how do you put these things together? And I have to, Laura,
Right.
just, an immediate thought around those B&Bs working together. What would be really interesting is to have the 4 B&Bs common rated, and part of the choice is, so it's one price. You can see at any of the 4 B&Bs. This one's free, by the way. Any of the 4 B&Bs. And the consumer chooses based on the ones that they like or the pictures, whatever else, but it's one price for the whole experience, right? So that would be, we can, like, we could sell that in tandem with the B&B operators can sell that, absolutely. But that idea around sort of midweek, and whether it be yoga or music or otherwise, if it's something that, the way I always try and look at it, we're all consumers, right? So we love shopping at Apple because it's an incredible shopping experience. We all shop at, I'm not promoting it, Amazon, because it's so simple, really easy. It arrives the next day. The easier we make it for consumer, the more we can deliver. That's, if we try and keep that top of mind, it's not easy. It's actually quite difficult. You have to pay partners and money has to flow here and there, but it doesn't have to be one or the other. I think it can be, in working creatively and working on a partnership, it can be both.
Excellent. Okay. And Jody, I'm just going to check. Okay, no other questions yet. Jody, if you wouldn't mind, just tell us if I were buying the package to Pangea House, tell me what I get. What's involved?
Yeah, thanks so much, Lori. Hello, everybody. My name is Jody. My pronouns are she, her. I think, the better half of a duo who are owners and operators here at Pangea House. We are located on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe Indigenous communities, and it's really only through colonialism that I have the privilege to be here. So I want to recognize that. So we are a 5-room bed and breakfast, which with each room that's modeled after a modern day continent. So when you book your package, you can sleep in Asia or Africa or Australia or South America or Antarctica. And we lounge in North America and we eat in Europe. And so we also offer a 5-course dinner, which is an additional add-on, and that profiles flavors from all across the world. So that's what you get from Pangea House. You get an amazing stay and an amazing meal that is really influenced by global flavors and global trends, and frankly, Jeff and my global travels. So in January, we are going to hit Antarctica, which ticks off every continent on the planet for us. And we really wanted to have our B&B reflect that love of travel. And so that's kind of how we got started here, really. We had a dream that we wanted to open, a B&B. I think a lot of people have that dream. But we are definitely a COVID made us do it story. Jeff was a chef in the restaurant industry. If you live, eat, breathe, and have existed in the past 2 years, you know what COVID, the impact of COVID on the restaurant industry. And so in a similar kind of vein to what Jason was feeling, like we wanted something that felt like we had some sort of control. So we just said, okay, well, why not make a wild decision during a wild time? And we kind of packed up both of our gigs that were in flux, I guess, during the pandemic, and moved from Toronto to Gananoque, which is a little bit of a difference in terms of population and activity. I'm from Newfoundland originally, though, so I have to say that Gananoque is actually twice the size of the town that I was born in. So I feel like this is kind of middle of the road. Yeah, so we actually moved here in January of 2021 and opened up in June. So we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary last week. And when we came and opened up at the end of June, Ontario just kind of started to open up after COVID, like the second week, third week of July 2021. And then we were very busy right up into the fall. And we were amazed at how busy we were up until November. And then we took a little vacation and we thought it was fantastic. And then January came, and January was crickets. And so crickets are lovely. I'm not like saying anything bad about crickets, but when you are running a business and you have a whole month of crickets can be pretty scary. So then Lori introduced us to Jason at Landsby. And again, we were only here a year at that point, and we were here in the middle of COVID. So we didn't even know the other operators in our town at this point. So, you know, having the connections through RTO9, and frankly, like Jason and the team connecting us with the helicopter tours, our helicopter friends are like 7 minutes up the road, but these are COVID times. So we had not, you know, made a connection. So they were able to kind of make that connection for us, which was amazing. And then we called each other and said, hey, who are these Landsby people? Like, are they okay? What do you think? And it just has worked out like so well for us. So yeah, so what happens, that's a long-winded way to answer your question, Lori. But what happens when people book in with Landsby, they arrive and they spend 2 nights in their room of choice, on their continent of choice. And Jeff serves them a 5-course dinner. And of course, we send them to the menu and make sure that everything is kosher with the menu. And then at some point during their 2-night stay, they also do a helicopter tour, which we've gotten nothing but rave reviews on. So it's been a really great partnership. And sometimes people will Google the experience and then call us directly, which is great. And then sometimes they'll say, so can you organize our helicopter tour for us? And we'll be like, oh no, you have to call Landsby for that. Like, and it's just, so we're thankful that Landsby is there, because the idea of having to organize the helicopter tours and organize this human and organize me and organize a chef, all of those things together are a lot. So yeah, so it's been a really good partnership for us. Yeah, I think that was a really long-winded way to answer your question.
That's okay. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting you and Jeff, Jody, when I came out, and you gave me a bit of a preview of some of the rooms that were not being occupied at the time, and I just thought, what a cool idea to do that. And then the fact that I know Jeff doesn't call himself a chef, but I'm sure he's pretty close to being one, and he loves doing it, which always helps. So
we have had no complaints so far.
I bet. And you know, but a big part of it, of course, is one, your product, your experience is really unique. Not everybody's going to have, you know, a helicopter company in their backyard, but there are lots of other experiences out there to create. So that's a big one. There are a few more questions, actually. I missed some of them, so I do apologize. So someone just confirming, accommodators can list an experience. Yes, they can. You don't have to be TICO certified. TICO certification, Jason, I believe it's $3,000, right? And quite a I think I looked at it the other day.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know. It's on their website. I don't
Yeah.
know how much it is, but
And it's a lot. It's a lot to go through that certification. I know I've had a few.
listen, it's but to your point, it's more the process. I mean, the process, and it's that. It's less about the money up front, although
Yeah.
that is meaningful, but it's more the process for sure.
Yeah.
But Lori, I just want to say I'm not, Tico's just, it's there, and it's us as retailers and wholesalers, but it's not something to be worried about. You're an accommodation. You don't need Tico. I mean, that's because that's who you are. It's just Tico, I think, comes up and people sort of worry about it. But it's for retailers and wholesalers to operate and bring together multi-night experiences for the consumer. So it's just that's, it's there for that reason. And it actually came out of tour operators like I think it was Canada 3000 at the time, or whoever it was, going bankrupt, and everyone sort of losing out on their funding. So that Tico came into play many years ago to protect consumer funds. So.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. Another question: would we have to reserve spots for Landsby, and could they be released closer to the activity date? So I don't know if you're talking about a one-time off activity or sort of an ongoing thing, but Jason.
The way I take that question, is allotment. So we have not yet worked on allotment. To be fair, we launched these packages during COVID. Having allotment would be wonderful. We haven't, I think Jody can attest, we haven't requested allotment because we do a lot of our work for the domestic traveler is going to be in the shoulder and the low season. Typically allotment is not a big deal. But I think we're flexible, we're creative, we understand the dynamics at play. There are other partners in the industry who, demand allotment, who demand lowest rates. I don't think those words have really ever come out of our mouth, because it is about partnership when dealing with this kind of thing. And I also think that because of the packages that we're putting together, the type of consumer, and Jody, because you're hosting them, but the type of consumer that is booking these things are not looking at sort of discounts and the cheapest price. They are looking for more of an experience and, like I said, a little bit more above average spend. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if I could just make 2 points on that. So when, logistically, when a request comes in through Landsby, they ask about our availability and we let them know what our availability is. And we kind of work that out. And what we do as a B&B is we say, okay, if you want that date, I will hold it, because my experience with Landsby is when a request comes in, they follow through. And so I hold that space until everything kind of processes, and then we go through from there. So when I get a request from Landsby, it is 99.999% of the time, it's a booking, which is also great. And I will also attest to the level of customer service. So the accommodation of Jason's team, and their willingness to work with us as a partner. And we feel like partners with the Landsby team, which feels great. And the quality of humans that have come through our door from this partnership are incredible. I always write back to the team, they just left, I think they had a really great time. Please just send more people like this. I can't express that enough. Like, these people are incredible. We have gotten flowers, we have gotten wine, we have gotten, they're there for the experience. They love to have a chat. They're having a really good time. It's been just a really positive experience. The quality of humans, super high.
Nice, very nice. Okay, another question. So do customers book through Landsby or through the accommodation provider? And that's through Landsby, right?
Yeah, listen, we understand. I think Jody mentioned it. A consumer will see the accommodation or the stay and call directly and just book it. But I think in terms of pulling that whole experience together, where it's not just about the stay, it's through Landsby, yes.
Right. Okay, perfect. And Susan, Jody is in Gananoque. Another question here in regards to pillars. Would you include one thing from each pillar in each package, or would you build a package based around one pillar as a theme?
Happy to do both. It's more challenging building a package with all 4 pillars and keeping it simple. I think we had a couple of them, but yeah, happy to around one theme. Absolutely. I mean, listen, like I said, the stay is always there. So, you know, can you build something around culinary or cultural or wellness? Absolutely, 100%, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And Alex, you've got a great property to build some really unique experiences there. So I think we need to talk, or you need to talk with Jason, one or the other. As an accommodator, TICO certification is not required. No, it is not. Happy anniversary from Susan.
Thank you.
Lovely. So what I took from Jason's explanation is that if an experienced provider partners with accommodations for an overnight stay, the accommodations partner must be responsible for collecting payment and that they must be TICO certified. They do not have to be TICO certified.
No. And that's, listen, I'm not TICO, but I do know that if you don't have an accommodation and you're selling something that is overnight, you cannot take the consumer funds. But I point you to TICO just to make 100% sure.
Right.
Yes.
I spoke with them a couple of days ago, Jason. That's exactly how they explained it. It is all centered on the accommodation. And if you're going to offer a package, then the funds have to flow through the accommodator. So, so one thing I'll throw it there, because I've been asked by several experienced providers and more importantly, accommodators, is so if I want to put a package together, let's say a package like Jody's, and I want to put it out there to sell. I mean, I guess what their question is, how am I selling it beyond my website? And that's where really where Landsby comes in, is they do that. And the other thing that I will throw out to those who are here is Jason has a great team, and he's of course, as the leader of that team, he's a big part of how it flows. But even if you're interested and you don't know what that experience can look like, you're not sure what the experience provider is, I would encourage you to reach out either to Jason or to myself, and we can talk about what's available within your region and what a package can look like. Because I've sent Jason, I don't know how many emails saying, hey, I've got these people and they've got this idea, and here are the experience providers. Do with it what you will. And then he goes out and, as he did with Jody, speaks to Jody and talks about what that unique experience is. And then Jason, you reach out to all of the partners, don't you? And then kind of put that package together.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, we too, we're building our team as things come back. And, you know, another thing with Jody's package, as we're now adding optional. So now as we've come into the summer, Rockport Cruises is a perfect example where they can add in elements or experiences that are not just included in the package, but other ones in the region. So if you think about, you know, Kingston being, I think, one of the obvious ones, sure, we can have, you know, a wonderful package with the Rosemat Inn or the Secret Garden Inn or whoever it is, and maybe package something with Chez Mare Spa in Kingston, but doesn't mean that the consumer can't then go on our website. And as long as, you know, we have that relationship with the supplier, add in other components to their trip to level up, if you may, their package as a whole. So it's what we pre-package, and that's incredibly important. And then as we move forward, what do we want to add in, right? What are those elements? Are there festivals? Are there, you know, there's so much to do. And I think that's where the combination of us selling the packages and then the suppliers being exposed on our website through the subscription program, I think it's a really interesting combination of both, where it becomes also a directory for us and our travel advisors and our team to say, oh, what else can people do? And we have this directory of experiences on the website that is pre-populated by the industry as a whole. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we've got some more here. If anyone wants me to turn your microphone on or you want to come on camera, I can certainly do that for you. You just have to just let me know.
Should I stop sharing, Jody? Lori?
No, I just leave it up there because no one's on camera anyway, Jason. But I'm happy to put everyone on. So Jillian asked, these packages are accommodation centric with add-ons. How would it work if we offered a service like weddings and then identified accommodations, a reverse model? it wouldn't.
That would be something like, we are aware as a team that as an event planner or as a wedding planner, you offer a certain service, whoever it is. And if we get that type of request, or Lori, if you get that type of request or whatever it may be, we know who to go to or who to point someone to. But that's really hard to sell, because the event is a whole different thing. It's not, it's leisure, but it's not, if you know.
And the audience is very specific.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fair. Anne's asking, can Jody share what type of numbers she saw from Landsby? So I know you started booking quite right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, we went from 0 sales in January. So that's where we were in January. Sorry, we've got a doorbell, so if you can hear that in the background, sorry about that. And we have, I don't know the exact number, I'm happy to share it, I don't have anything to hide, but we have done over $10,000 worth of sales, like money in our pocket through the Landsby partnership, for sure. It has been a really great partnership for us. And so when you can go from 0, in the first month to, oh my God, this is what happens here. Like, look at this. This is my partner, Jeff. And people give us flowers. It's really like quite wild. This is beautiful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I sent those flowers, by the way.
Yeah. This has been like quite an experience this past year. But that's proof in the pudding. But I also, like, honestly, there's 3 things about working with Landsby. One is winter and shoulder season sales. I don't know where we would have been in the winter without the startup of this partnership. 2 is the customer service from the team, for sure. And 2 out of 3 are money, actually. Like other providers, we're not going to name names, but take anywhere from 6 to like 27, I think, is the highest that I've seen of commission prices out of our bottom line. None of that happens with Landsby. We've agreed on a price. So, and people choose their room. So sometimes we may sell a room for 30 or 40 bucks less, but sometimes we'll sell a room for 30 or 40 bucks more. So it kind of all comes out in the wash. Like, we lose nothing in this partnership. And so that is completely different than anyone else that we work with.
Nice.
Jody, that's wonderful. And I'm thank you for saying that. And I just wanted to add, the reason why we can do that, outside of obviously Jody being, they get it, is because it's packaged. So we're not exposing the overnight rate. We're not exposing the helicopter rate. That's the key to packaging is, if the consumer sees a price and they're like, oh, that's pretty good value, they can see the value in the price. No one's going to open that price up, right? So if we were, like I said, an Expedia or a Booking or all the hotel partners out there, and we're selling hotel room only, then of course it's a race to the bottom, let's be honest, because that's the only thing that you can do. But that's where the key to packaging comes in. And it's having, like I said at the beginning, it's having the right partnership. It's not for everyone, but it has been validated through this partnership, I think, is the best thing I can say.
Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Really great questions coming in. Thanks, everyone. Jason, talk to me about, we've got about 7 minutes left. So talk to me about what's important. What do you go looking for with partners, both from a partner perspective, what's important when you're working with a partner, and then on the flip side, what are people looking for?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't think there's one answer. I mean, we are looking for, and nothing against branded hotels at all. Like, we work with Marriott in Kingston, and there's so many more. But intimate accommodators where we can develop a relationship is incredibly important. It is so important. An experience that is close by, or 1 or 2 or 3 experiences that are close by. And to be fair, in the reverse, we may, we may work with Jody or whoever it is in the future, and they're gonna introduce us to, you should be working with this experience because we work together in general, and then we bring the whole thing together. So, you know, Prince Edward County is a perfect example. They don't need us in the summer. Like, we're not even gonna try it, but there are so many things to do in the county that not everyone thinks about in the shoulder and the low season. And our first go is the accommodation. And it's more, I think I said it before, it's less about just putting someone in a room for an overnight and more about, okay, what kind of rooms do they have? Do they include breakfast? And it's really like the Wilfrid in Prince Edward County, one of my favorite places. The breakfast that they put on is like nothing I've ever seen before. And it's exquisite. It's incredible. So, and they created a private retreat, and, you know, we promoted it, and we sold. And so that's really what we're looking for. And that's not to snub Brent. Like, we want to work with hotels because there's huge demand for hotels, and that, you know, the changeovers and sort of the level of cleanliness and everything else that people expect. But our first go-to is going to be Jody and people like Jody. So, and, you know, Thousand Islands Helicopters, they have a program, and it's really easy for us. They have trade rates, they have nets. It is what it is. We bill at the end of the month. So, you know, every time someone comes, we don't have to bill. That all has to work in order for us to deliver and to make it seamless for the consumer. All of that has to be pretty well thought out beforehand. And that just means that you're for the most part, you're trade ready. But we don't only work with trade ready partners, right? So Jody, I think a perfect example is, you know, we work something out, and so far it's worked. And I think it will evolve and it'll grow, and you know, we'll keep building it. So I think I answered the question, sort of.
You did. Thank you so much. You've got a couple more questions here. Susan says, but we need you in the winter. I think Susan's from Prince Edward County, and she has ideas. So Susan, I put Jason's email in the chat room. So I would encourage you to reach out to him. Jason, will you work with accommodators that operate seasonally? So for instance, they're closed during the winter.
We're open to it. Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Cool.
I mean, we make no promises in terms of and this is where we're not promising a certain amount of volume, because what we're doing is new, and therefore we're not demanding rates, or we're not demanding allotment. But sure, let's try something.
Yeah.
Let's try something.
Okay.
And if I can just say, like, when we were talking about this partnership here, like Jeff and I, do we want to do this? And we connected with the helicopter people and said, hey, what's your experience? What are you feeling? And we just came to the conclusion, there's nothing to lose. They're not asking us to hold rooms. They're not, you know, taking a commission or those sorts of things. So it's just like, if we get accommodations from this partnership, fantastic. If we don't, then we're in the same position that we are right now. So it was just kind of one of those things. Let's just give it a try and see what happens. And sometimes it's going to work, and sometimes it's not going to work. But we're just really happy it worked for us.
Excellent. Can't see what.
Lori, can I just add to that, because I don't want to make this sound like it's all too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not just it. We won't put something up where our partner, in true definition of the word, is then undercutting us because they have to fill a room in. That can't. There has to be a certain level of trust in the partnership, right? So, you know, if we have a package rate of 200, and for whatever reason the partner needs to sell rooms and it's 175 on their website, we'll have to, you know what I mean? So there is a level of, we're not just going to put ourselves out there, because, you know, we want to have a profitable business and we want to be there for the industry in many years to come. So that partnership has to be both ways. It just can't come to Landsby and we try and do everything we possibly can, right?
And that's why you're here today, Jason, because you've got integrity. Thank you for that. So Marie says it's the added value to the customers, and that they don't have to book activities separately. It's easy and it's fun. Could not agree more. We've got a couple more. This is great conversation, everyone. Are you open to exploring other service models? We are currently selling wedding packages and also manage accommodations for out-of-town guests. Worth a conversation, I'd say.
What's worth listen, a conversation is a conversation. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. When adding up, when signing up to add our business card to your website, are we able to use our own pictures?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's your photo, your link. I encourage you to tag the link so you can see the traffic. 100%. And you can change it as many times as possible. It doesn't go live until we approve it, because we don't want a random McDonald's showing up in a plaza that's not tourism, right? So
Right. And the only thing I would say there is, it's well worth your money to hire just a real estate photographer to come in and take some great pictures of your property or yourself or whatever, just to so you've got some professional visuals there that are out for the public. So any other questions from anyone? This has just been great. Really terrific questions, everyone. I really appreciate it. Jason and Jody, of course, goes without saying. I'm still working off the romper room comment. Okay, so we are, look at that, 3 o'clock, perfect. Okay, so you can see information I did, Jody, I don't know if you noticed there, I dropped the link to Pangea House in the chat room for everyone to check you out. And I would say from an RTO perspective, RTO9 perspective, I am the Director of Experiential Tourism Development. So if you are looking to develop, you're not sure where to go, what to do, what partners you should consider, please reach out to me. We can have a conversation. I can come out and visit. I'm going to drop my, I can't type and talk at the same time. I'm sorry. I haven't figured out how to do that, especially when I'm getting ready for vacation. Tourism.ca. There you go, everyone. Yeah, just entered it, Barbara. Thank you so much. Nancy, thanks. I look forward to chatting with you, Jason. So Nancy is one of the lovely ladies that I spoke of earlier today. From Westport. So really great, would encourage you. And the other thing before we leave is we are just, although I'm going on holidays next week, on Tuesday, our second round or second window for partnership funding, which focuses primarily on experiential tourism development there, but there are also a couple other categories that people can apply for funding under. It goes live Tuesday. It's on our website, rto9.ca under partnerships, or if you follow us on social, you'll get a notice about that too. The window is open from July 5th to July 25th. There's money to help you get this rolling, everyone. Whether it's through, not a bit different when you're working with Jason, because that's all kind of taken care of. But if you're looking for funding to do your own, create your own experience and get that onto market, then we can help you with that. There's also funds provided if you need to enhance your website, so the digitizing your business. And then if your business needs, signage, building signage or a road signage or whatever, that's a category as well. So, oh, look at that, 4 new messages. I don't know, you can, everybody's still here, so they're very interested. Is there a possibility of getting a recording of the session? Yes, thank you very much. It is being recorded right now. That usually is listed on our website and our YouTube channel within a few days. And I believe you'll get an email that says, here's the link to the recording. When are you back from vacation? Can we also talk to someone else in the office? Yes, you can talk to our executive director, Bonnie Ruddock. What I will do regarding partnership funds, if that's what you were asking about, Marie, is I always have a conversation with anyone who's looking for partnership funding, so we can talk about your application, whether or not your project is valid for the partnership fund and what your budget line items are. I go through all of that with you. I want to give everyone as much of a chance to access funding as I can. So we don't just say, throw your application in and we'll see. I will have an in-depth conversation with you line by line of your application if need be, and we'll go through all that. Jason, I will reach out to explore opportunities. That's Jillian, terrific. Is there a possibility of getting, yes, a recording, as I said. Minimum time frame commitment you are looking for, Jason? Is there a minimum time frame?
To sell an experience?
Yes.
I'll just say the more flexible it is, the more draw it will be for consumers. So
right. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's exactly that. It really depends on. Think about it from a consumer perspective. I think it's the best way.
Absolutely. Okay. And Michelle, or Marie rather, sorry, I would love to come and visit you and your alpacas. So anyone, but please reach out to me. You've got my email address there. I'm still around for the rest of the day, and I'll probably be checking my email tomorrow as well. But we can set up a time where I can come out and visit, and we can, maybe repeat what we did with Jody, or we can talk about other ways that RTO9 can help you. But Jason, again, thank you so much. It is always such a pleasure to work with you. Jody, you are just awesome. You and Jeff have just such a great thing going on there. Lori, I can't see your email address. Oh, I wonder if I just sent it to one person. Apologies, everyone. Let me just do that again. AAC at. There we go. So please reach out to me. I would love to connect. I'm here to help in absolutely any way I can. And we'll, there's so much more. I'll end with this. There's so much more that RTO9 can do in addition to funding to help you get your tourism business, your initiative up and rolling. And if you're a partner through partnership funding, there's a couple of added benefits to that as well, like we do. Of course, a little bit of marketing. We can include you in itineraries, things like that. So just call me. Email me, whatever. I hope everyone has a fantastic Canada Day weekend. They said it's supposed to rain, but I'm going to think happy thoughts. And if I have to go swim in the rain, then I will do that. So thanks again, everyone. Jason, I'm sure we'll talk. Jody, we're going to talk as well about our summit. If you have not signed up, registered for our summit on September 9th, it's at the Donald Gordon Center. It's our AGM and Tourism Summit every year. It's loads of fun. We have a makers marketplace. We've got lots of guest speakers, and I think Jason, we're hoping that he can come and attend as well. So rto9.ca, look for the summit register here information, or again, it's on our social pages, and I hope you can make it. It is almost booked up. So if you're interested in coming, get on there and get your seat put in. We do have a waiting list. But yeah, thanks everyone. I'm thrilled. This has been such a great hour and 6 minutes. But appreciate it to everyone. Have a fantastic holiday. And I look forward to hearing from anybody who wants to reach out to me.
All right. Thanks everybody.
Thanks so much. Bye.